Earth's core erupted with blinding energy, vaporizing half the Tarkalian fleet in an instant. The universe gasped as humans weaponized their planet's core, transforming from prey to predator in the cosmic food chain. Dr. Vincent Miller wiped sweat from his brow, his finger hovering over the activation switch. The Global Defense Initiative's underground bunker shook as Tarkalian bombs pummeled the surface. Screens flickered with real-time updates of Earth's conventional defenses crumbling under the alien onslaught. "It's now or never," Miller muttered, pressing the button. The year was 2125, and humanity faced extinction. The Tarkalian alien race, conquerors of most of the galaxy, had set their sights on Earth. Their technologically superior ships darkened the skies, led by the ruthless Commander Jackson, known for obliterating resistant planets without mercy. Earth's last hope lay miles beneath the surface. For months, Miller and his team had worked tirelessly on a groundbreaking project to harness the planet's core as a massive energy weapon. They drilled to unprecedented depths, inserting a network of quantum resonators designed to manipulate Earth's magnetic field. As Miller activated the weapon, the planet's crust trembled. Energy surged through the resonators, building to levels never before witnessed by human instruments. The bunker's occupants held their breath, praying their calculations were correct. A beam of pure energy, brighter than 1,000 suns, burst from Earth's surface. It struck the Tarkalian flagship with pinpoint accuracy, the result of Miller's painstaking calibrations. The alien vessel disintegrated, and the blast rippled outward, engulfing nearby ships in a sea of destruction. Commander Jackson, severely wounded but alive, watched in disbelief as half his fleet vanished. Shockwaves from the blast reverberated through space-time, causing nearby stars to flicker like candles in a cosmic wind. Without hesitation, Jackson ordered a full retreat, his remaining forces scrambling to escape the newfound fury of Earth. News of Earth's incredible weapon spread rapidly across the galaxy. Alien civilizations that had dismissed humanity as primitive now regarded them with a mixture of fear and awe. The balance of power had shifted dramatically, and Earth found itself thrust onto the galactic stage as a force to be reckoned with. In the aftermath, the United Earth government scrambled to establish protocols for using the core weapon. They were acutely aware of its double-edged nature, a tool of defense that could easily become an instrument of planetary destruction if mishandled. Miller and his team worked around the clock to refine the technology, pushing the boundaries of their understanding of quantum physics and planetary manipulation. Meanwhile, Earth's military prepared for the inevitable Tarkalian counterattack, knowing that Jackson would not accept defeat easily. As Earth braced for the next confrontation, other alien races began to reconsider their stance towards humanity. Diplomatic channels long silent crackled to life as species across the galaxy sought to understand and potentially ally with this emerging power. The weaponization of Earth's core had done more than save humanity from extinction. It had catapulted them into a new era of interstellar politics and warfare. The universe watched and waited, wondering what this upstart species would do next with their newfound might. The galaxy buzzed with news of Earth's astonishing defense against the Tarkalian invasion. President Marcus Steele stood before a holographic display in the Oval Office, studying the intricate web of diplomatic channels that had sprung to life in the wake of humanity's triumph. "Mr. President," his aide announced, "the Andromeda Coalition is ready for your address." Steele nodded, straightening his tie. The camera drones activated, projecting his image across countless alien worlds. "Greetings, citizens of the galaxy. Earth extends a hand of friendship to all peaceful civilizations. We seek not conquest, but cooperation. Let us build a future of mutual prosperity and security." As Steele's words echoed through the cosmos, Dr. Vincent Miller hunched over his workstation deep within the Global Defense Initiative's lab. Holographic models of Earth's core spun before him, streams of data cascading down translucent screens. "Adjust the quantum resonator frequency by 0.03%, Miller instructed his team. "We need pinpoint accuracy if we're going to minimize collateral damage." The lab hummed with activity as scientists fine-tuned the core weapon. Miller's gaze drifted to a screen displaying the retreating Tarkalian fleet. He knew this respite was temporary. In the newly established Galactic Command Center, General Alexander Hawk paced before a massive star chart. Holographic markers indicated the positions of Earth's growing network of allies and the last known location of the Tarkalian Armada. "Status report on the shield generator program?" Hawk barked. A young lieutenant stepped forward. "Sir, we've successfully miniaturized the technology. Initial tests show the personal shields can withstand direct hits from Tarkalian energy weapons." Hawk nodded grimly. "Good. Start mass production immediately. We'll need every advantage we can get." As Earth prepared for the coming storm, a sleek ship sliced through the atmosphere, escorted by a squadron of fighters. Inside, a group of alien refugees huddled nervously, their diverse physiologies a testament to the reach of Tarkalian aggression. Among them stood Zara, her violet skin and luminescent eyes marking her as unmistakably Tarkalian. She clutched a data crystal containing vital intelligence on her species' military capabilities. The ship touched down at a high-security facility. General Hawk waited on the tarmac, flanked by armed guards. As Zara disembarked, their eyes met. Suspicion and hope crackled in the air between them. "Welcome to Earth," Hawk said, his voice neutral. "I understand you have information that could help us." Zara nodded, her translator implant converting her words to crisp English. "The Tarkalians are coming, General, and they're coming with technology specifically designed to counter your core weapon." Hawk's eyes narrowed. "Then we'd better get to work." In the following weeks, Earth's defenses evolved rapidly. Zara's intelligence proved invaluable, allowing human engineers to develop countermeasures against Tarkalian shielding technology. The alien refugee found herself working closely with Dr. Miller, their combined knowledge pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible. Meanwhile, on Mars, a secret facility took shape beneath the red planet's surface. The Starbridge project, born from the discovery of space-time ruptures caused by the core weapon, promised to revolutionize interstellar travel. Dr. Miller stood before a gathered team of Earth's brightest minds, including Zara. "The energy beam from our core weapon didn't just destroy the Tarkalian ships," he explained, gesturing to a holographic simulation. "It momentarily tore the fabric of space-time. With precise calibration, we believe we can stabilize these ruptures into traversable wormholes." The implications were staggering. If successful, humanity would gain the ability to travel vast interstellar distances in the blink of an eye. The strategic advantage in the coming conflict would be immeasurable. As work on the Starbridge project progressed, Earth's deep space monitoring stations lit up with urgent alerts. The Tarkalian Armada had been detected entering the outer reaches of the solar system. Over 10,000 ships strong, it was a force unlike anything humanity had ever faced. In the Galactic Command Center, General Hawk mobilized Earth's defenses. Battle groups took up strategic positions throughout the solar system. On the planet's surface, civilian populations streamed into underground shelters, the atmosphere thick with tension. Suddenly, every communication device across Earth crackled to life. Commander Jackson's face, bearing fresh scars from his near-death experience, filled screens planet-wide. "Humans," he snarled, his words translated into every Earth language. "Your pathetic resistance ends now. We will reduce your world to ash, and any who dare stand with you shall share your fate." The transmission cut off abruptly, replaced by an incoming message from an unexpected source. A coalition of alien races, previously neutral, had decided to stand with humanity against the Tarkalian threat. A diverse fleet of ships began to gather at the edges of the solar system, preparing to aid in Earth's defense. In the Oval Office, President Steele received the news with a mix of relief and apprehension. "It seems Jackson's ultimatum had unintended consequences," he mused to his advisors. "But will it be enough?" As the Tarkalian Armada drew ever closer, humanity stood on the brink of the largest conflict in its history. The core weapon, once a bold strategy for survival, had thrust Earth onto the galactic stage. Now, it would face its greatest test against an enemy hell-bent on humanity's annihilation. In the Mars facility, Dr. Miller and his team worked feverishly to bring the Starbridge project online. If they succeeded, it could turn the tide of the coming battle. If they failed, it might be humanity's last hope for escape. The solar system held its breath as the opposing fleets drew near. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the galaxy itself, hung in the balance. The next few hours would determine whether humanity would rise to become a true galactic power or be extinguished like a candle in the cosmic wind. The solar system erupted into chaos as the Tarkalian armada breached the outer defensive line. Alarms blared throughout Earth's military installations, signaling the beginning of humanity's greatest challenge. President Marcus Steele stood in the Situation Room, his face illuminated by the glow of holographic displays. "Activate Protocol Omega," he commanded, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "General Hawk, you have full authority to coordinate our defenses." In the Galactic Command Center, General Alexander Hawk's fingers flew across a series of control panels. "All units, battle stations, engage Defense Grid Alpha 7. His voice carried through subspace channels, reaching Earth's newly formed coalition of alien allies. The void of space lit up with weapons fire as Earth's fleet, bolstered by their extraterrestrial allies, clashed with the Tarkalian armada. Energy beams crisscrossed the darkness, and explosions bloomed like silent flowers among the stars. On Mars, Dr. Vincent Miller wiped sweat from his brow as he made minute adjustments to the Starbridge device. "Initiating test sequence," he announced to his team. The air crackled with energy as a shimmering portal materialized in the center of the lab. "We've done it," exclaimed one of the scientists, her eyes wide with wonder. "A stable micro-wormhole." Miller allowed himself a brief moment of satisfaction before refocusing on the task at hand. "Now comes the hard part. We need to scale this up and fast." Back on Earth, Zara pored over schematics of Tarkalian shield generators. Her violet skin seemed to glow under the harsh laboratory lights as she pointed out a critical weakness to a team of human engineers. "Here," she said, her translator converting her words to flawless English. "If you modulate your energy weapons to pulse at this precise frequency, you can create a resonance cascade that will collapse their shields." The lead engineer nodded, his fingers already dancing across a keyboard to implement the changes. "Brilliant," he muttered. "With this, we might stand a chance." In orbit, automated defense platforms around Mars and the asteroid belt engaged the incoming Tarkalian ships. Laser fire and missiles streaked through space, finding their marks with deadly precision. Tarkalian vessels exploded in silent bursts of light and debris, but for every ship destroyed, 3 more took its place. Commander Jackson's face appeared on the main screen of Earth's orbital command station. His scarred visage twisted into a sneer as he addressed General Hawk. "Your pathetic defenses are no match for the might of the Tarkalian Empire. Surrender now, and perhaps I'll allow a few of your species to survive as our slaves." Hawk's expression remained impassive as he responded. "We will never surrender, Jackson. Earth stands ready to fight to the last." The Tarkalian commander's laughter cut off as Hawk terminated the transmission. Turning to his staff, the general barked out a series of orders. "Deploy our fleet in Formation Delta. I want our coalition allies to focus on protecting our flanks while we engage the main Tarkalian force head-on." As the battle raged in space, Earth's surface became a hive of frantic activity. Civilians rushed to underground shelters, guided by emergency response teams. Military personnel manned anti-aircraft batteries and prepared for possible ground invasions. Suddenly, a small group of Tarkalian ships broke away from the main fleet, approaching Earth under a flag of truce. General Hawk received the transmission with skepticism. "This is Captain Krell of the Tarkalian Resistance," came the unexpected message. "We seek asylum and offer our assistance against Commander Jackson's forces." After a tense discussion with President Steele and his advisors, Hawk agreed to allow the ships to land at a heavily fortified facility in Antarctica. As the vessels touched down, squads of heavily armed soldiers surrounded them, weapons at the ready. Captain Krell emerged, his hands raised in a gesture of peace. We represent a significant portion of Tarkalian society that opposes Jackson's warmongering, he explained. We can provide you with the exact frequencies needed to penetrate their new shields. President Steele, watching the exchange via secure video link, leaned back in his chair. This could be the advantage we need, he mused to his assembled advisors. But can we trust them? As debates raged in the halls of power, the space battle intensified. Earth's fleet, though outnumbered, fought with fierce persistence. Coalition ships darted between lumbering Tarkalian cruisers, their more agile designs allowing them to strike with precision before retreating to safety. Commander Jackson, realizing the potential threat posed by the defectors, diverted a portion of his fleet to hunt down suspected traitor ships. This decision weakened his main assault force, but stemmed the tide of defections to Earth's side. On Mars, Dr. Miller's team achieved a major breakthrough. The Starbridge device hummed to life, generating a stable wormhole large enough to accommodate a small spacecraft. Miller's voice crackled over the comlink to Earth. We've done it, but the energy requirements are enormous. We can't maintain it for long. As Earth scientists scrambled to incorporate Captain Krell's shield-penetrating frequencies into their weapon systems, the Tarkalian main fleet unleashed a devastating barrage against the planet's weakened defenses. Cities around the globe erupted in flames as energy beams lanced down from orbit. In underground bunkers, millions huddled in fear, feeling the impacts shake the very foundations of the Earth. The fate of humanity hung by a thread as General Hawk gave the fateful order. "Charge the core weapon," he commanded, his voice grave. "Prepare to fire." The planet itself seemed to hold its breath as the massive weapon powered up, drawing energy from the very heart of the Earth. The battle had reached its critical moment, and the next few seconds would determine the future of not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. The air crackled with tension as General Hawk's order echoed through the command center. "Charge the core weapon. Prepare to fire." Technicians' fingers flew across control panels, initiating the complex sequence that would bring Earth's most powerful defense to bear. Deep beneath the planet's surface, massive generators hummed to life, drawing energy from the very heart of the Earth. As the weapon charged, the battle in space reached a fever pitch. Tarkalian ships pressed their advantage, their energy beams lancing through Earth's weakened orbital defenses. Explosions bloomed silently in the void, marking the final moments of human and alien vessels alike. On the main view screen, Commander Jackson's scarred face twisted into a triumphant sneer. "Your time is up, humans. Watch as we reduce your world to ash." General Hawk's mind focused, his eyes fixed on the status indicators for the core weapon. "Not today," he muttered. Suddenly, a blinding beam of energy erupted from Earth's surface, punching through the atmosphere and into space. The modified frequency, a result of Zara and the human scientists' collaboration, sliced through the Tarkalian shields as if they were made of paper. The effect was immediate and devastating. Tarkalian ships caught in the beam's path disintegrated, their hulls breaching and exploding in spectacular bursts of light and debris. At the center of the carnage, Commander Jackson's flagship took a direct hit. The massive vessel shuddered, its shields failing catastrophically. On Earth's surface, millions watched in awe as Jackson's ship erupted into a fireball, visible even in broad daylight. Cheers erupted from underground bunkers and military installations alike. In the Galactic Command Center, General Hawk allowed himself a brief moment of satisfaction before barking out new orders. "All units, press the attack, don't let them regroup." Earth's allied fleet, bolstered by the Tarkalian resistance led by Captain Krell, seized the opportunity. They launched a coordinated assault on the remaining Tarkalian forces, now in disarray without their central command. Captain Krell's voice crackled over the comlink. "Human allies, we're detecting a weakness in their left flank. Concentrate fire on grid sector 7. The tide of battle shifted dramatically. Tarkalian ships, once seemingly invincible, fell in rapid succession. Their formations broke apart, individual vessels attempting to flee or fight in isolation. However, the euphoria of imminent victory was short-lived. The command center shook violently, alarms blaring as new alerts flooded in. "General," a young lieutenant called out, her voice strained. "We're detecting severe seismic activity across the globe. The core weapon discharge has destabilized the planet's tectonic structure." Hawk's face paled as he absorbed the implications. On screens around the room, real-time data showed earthquakes rocking major cities. Volcanoes long thought dormant began to spew ash and smoke. Before Hawk could formulate a response, another crisis emerged. A group of Tarkalian ships, untouched by the core weapons blast, broke through Earth's weakened defenses. Landing craft streaked through the atmosphere, touching down in key locations around the globe. "Redirect ground forces to engage the invaders," Hawk commanded, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Priority on protecting civilian populations and critical infrastructure." As urban warfare erupted in cities across the planet, a transmission came in from Mars. Dr. Miller's face appeared on screen, his expression a mix of excitement and concern. "General, we've made a breakthrough with the Star Bridge," Miller reported. "We've stabilized a larger wormhole, but the energy requirements are enormous. We can offer an escape route for key personnel and civilians if Earth becomes uninhabitable." Hawk's mind raced, weighing the options. The situation was deteriorating rapidly, with threats both external and internal. He opened a secure channel to President Steele, relaying Miller's offer and the current state of affairs. After a tense discussion, the president made his decision. "Authorize the evacuation of critical government and military leaders through the Star Bridge," Steele ordered. "But I'm staying here to coordinate our defense efforts. We haven't lost Earth yet." As the evacuation plans were set in motion, Zara approached General Hawk with a daring proposal. "General, I believe we can create a bioweapon that targets Tarkalian physiology," she explained, her translator conveying the urgency in her voice. "It could incapacitate their ground forces without harming humans or our allies." Hawk nodded, immediately grasping the potential. "Work with Dr. Rodriguez and her team, make it happen." In the hours that followed, Earth became a battleground unlike any in human history. In space, the Allied fleet pushed the remaining Tarkalian ships to the outer reaches of the solar system. On the ground, human forces clashed with Tarkalian invaders in the streets of major cities. Reports flooded in of strange devices being planted by the Tarkalians in urban centers. Their purpose remained unknown, but the potential threat loomed large in the minds of Earth's defenders. As the planet shuddered under the strain of tectonic instability, Dr. Rodriguez's team worked feverishly to develop the bioweapon. In orbit, long-range scans detected a new wave of Tarkalian reinforcements approaching from deep space. The fate of Earth hung in the balance. The decisions made in the coming hours would determine not only the outcome of the battle, but the future of humanity itself. With options dwindling and time running out, Earth's leaders faced choices that would reshape the course of galactic history. General Hawk stood at the center of the command room, his eyes darting between tactical displays and incoming reports. The weight of humanity's future rested squarely on his shoulders as he prepared to make decisions that would echo through the ages. Ages to come. "Sir, we're receiving an urgent transmission from Dr. Rodriguez," Lieutenant Chen reported, her voice cutting through the tension in the command room. Hawk's gaze snapped to the main screen as Dr. Rodriguez's face appeared, her eyes wide with a mix of excitement and apprehension. "General, we've done it. The bioweapon is ready for deployment." Hawk's expression resolute. This was the moment he'd been dreading and hoping for. "What are the risks, Doctor?" "We've tested it extensively on Tarkalian tissue samples," Rodriguez explained, her words tumbling out rapidly. "It should incapacitate their forces within minutes of exposure, but—" She hesitated. "But what?" Hawk pressed. "We can't be certain there won't be any effects on humans or our allies. The simulations show minimal risk, but in real-world conditions—" Hawk closed his eyes for a moment, weighing the options. Earth was burning, the Tarkalians were pushing deeper into major cities, and now reinforcements were on the way. They were out of time and out of choices. "Deploy the weapon," Hawk ordered, his voice steady despite the gravity of the decision. Priority targets are areas with the highest concentration of Tarkalian ground forces. As the order went out, Hawk turned to Captain Krell, who had been monitoring the situation from a nearby console. "Captain, I need your people to fall back. We can't risk exposing them to the bioweapon." Krell nodded, his alien features set in a grim expression. "Understood, General. We'll coordinate our retreat with your forces." Across the globe, specially equipped military units moved into position. Canisters containing the bioagent were distributed with utmost care, each team acutely aware of the weapon's potential to turn the tide of the war or unleash an uncontrollable catastrophe. In New York, Major Lisa Reeves led her squad through the ruins of Midtown Manhattan. The once bustling streets were now a war zone, filled with the acrid smell of burning buildings and the distant sound of energy weapons. "All units, prepare for bioweapon deployment," Reeves spoke into her comm, her voice muffled by her helmet's filter. "On my mark, activate the canisters and fall back to the designated safe zones." She looked at the device in her hand, its sleek metal surface belying its deadly contents. With a deep breath, she gave the order. "Mark." Across the city and in metropolises around the world, the bioweapon canisters hissed open. A fine, barely visible mist spread rapidly through the urban canyons, carried by the wind and convection currents from the numerous fires. For a moment, nothing seemed to change. Then the effects became apparent with startling swiftness. Tarkalian soldiers stumbled, their movements becoming uncoordinated. Many dropped their weapons, clutching at their heads or doubling over in apparent pain. The organized assault that had been pushing relentlessly through the city faltered and then collapsed entirely. Major Reeves watched through her binoculars as the alien invaders fell into disarray. "Command, this is Reeves," she reported. "The bioweapon appears to be highly effective. Tarkalian forces they're completely incapacitated." Similar reports flooded in from around the globe. In London, Tokyo, Moscow, and countless other battlefields, the tide turned dramatically in humanity's favor. But the victory was not without cost. "General," Lieutenant Chen called out, her voice tight with concern. "We're getting reports of human soldiers experiencing symptoms: dizziness, nausea, difficulty breathing." Hawk's fists clenched at his sides. "Severity?" "Mild to moderate, sir. No critical cases reported yet, but we don't know the long-term effects," Hawk finished grimly. He turned to Dr. Rodriguez's image on the screen. "Doctor, I need answers, and I need them fast." As Earth's forces pressed their sudden advantage, pushing back against the weakened Tarkalian invaders, a new crisis emerged. The planet itself continued to shudder under the strain of tectonic instability caused by the core weapon's discharge. Amidst the chaos, a transmission from Mars cut through the noise. Dr. Miller's face appeared on the main screen, his expression a mix of excitement and urgency. "General Hawk," Miller began without preamble, "we've made a breakthrough with the Starbridge technology. We believe we can create a planetary shield using a network of miniature wormholes in Earth's upper atmosphere." Hawk leaned forward, his interest piqued despite the overwhelming number of crises demanding his attention. "Explain, Doctor, quickly." Miller launched into a rapid-fire explanation, his hands moving animatedly as he spoke. "By reconfiguring the Starbridge technology, we can create a series of interconnected wormholes that will channel energy from solar wind and cosmic radiation. This energy can be used to form a protective barrier around the planet." "How quickly can you implement this?" Hawk asked, his mind already racing through the strategic implications. "We're ready to begin now," Miller replied. "But General, there's something else you need to know. This shield, it might interact with those strange devices the Tarkalians planted in major cities. We're not sure how, but—" Hawk cut him off with a sharp gesture. "Do it, Miller. We'll deal with the consequences as they come." As Dr. Miller's team on Mars began the complex process of establishing the planetary shield, Earth's military forces continued to press their advantage against the disoriented Tarkalian ground troops. The bioweapon had turned the tide of the land battle, but the war was not nearly finished. In orbit, Captain Krell's voice crackled over the comm system. General Hawk, our long-range scans have detected a massive Tarkalian fleet approaching. They'll be here within hours. Hawk's expression hardened. They had won a significant victory on the ground, but now they faced an even greater threat from space. As he opened his mouth to respond, alarms blared throughout the command center. "Sir," Lieutenant Chen called out, her fingers flying over her console. "The planetary shield is online, but something's happening with those Tarkalian devices." On screens around the room, images flashed showing the mysterious alien devices activating in cities around the world. But instead of unleashing some new horror, they seemed to be malfunctioning, emitting erratic energy pulses and strange, swirling mists. "Analysis," Hawk barked. Data streamed across the screens as Earth's sensors probed the failing devices. As the information coalesced, a chilling realization dawned on the command staff. "Sir," Chen reported, her voice barely above a whisper, "they're terraforming machines, the Tarkalians. They were planning to transform our atmosphere, to make Earth suitable for their own colonization." The implications hit Hawk like a physical blow. This wasn't just an invasion. It was an attempted planetary conquest and genocide on an unimaginable scale. As the command staff grappled with this revelation, Captain Krell's voice cut through the stunned silence. "General Hawk, I have a proposal. It's risky, but it might be our best chance against the incoming fleet." Hawk straightened, his mind snapping back to the immediate threat. "Go ahead, Captain." "If we combine the power of your core weapon with the new planetary shield," Krell explained, his words coming fast and urgent, "we might be able to create a massive electromagnetic pulse. It could disable the entire Tarkalian fleet in one stroke." The room fell silent as the implications of Krell's suggestion sank in. It was a daring plan, one that could potentially end the space battle before it began. But the risks... The pulse would likely damage our own systems as well, Hawk mused aloud, his tactical mind already calculating the trade-offs. "Yes," Krell admitted, "but we're already on the ground. The Tarkalians would be crippled in space with nowhere to land and no way to fight back." Hawk nodded slowly, then opened a secure channel to President Steele. After a brief but intense discussion, the decision was made. "All forces, this is General Hawk," he announced, his voice carrying to every corner of Earth's defenses. "Prepare for Operation Thunderstrike. We're going to hit the Tarkalian fleet with everything we've got." As the orders went out, a palpable sense of anticipation filled the air. In orbit, Earth's remaining ships and defense platforms maneuvered into position. On the ground, military and civilian personnel braced for the potential backlash of the electromagnetic pulse. At the core weapon facility, technicians worked feverishly to charge the massive device to its maximum capacity. Dr. Miller and his team on Mars reconfigured the planetary shield, preparing it to amplify and direct the weapon's energy output. Time seemed to slow as the Tarkalian reinforcements entered the solar system, their massive fleet a looming threat visible even to the naked eye from Earth's surface. In the command center, General Hawk stood rigid, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. The lives of billions hung on his next word. Fire. The core weapon discharged, its unimaginable energy surging into the planetary shield. For a moment, the Earth itself seemed to glow, a brilliant blue-white light engulfing the planet. Then, a massive pulse of electromagnetic energy erupted outward, expanding rapidly through space. It washed over the Tarkalian fleet like a tidal wave of pure energy. Ships began to tumble, their systems overloaded and failing. But the pulse didn't stop there. It rolled onward, engulfing Earth's own defense platforms and satellites. Across the planet's surface, power grids flickered and died, plunging entire continents into darkness. As the initial flash faded, Hawk blinked spots from his vision, trying to make sense of the data streaming in from the few systems still operational. "Report!" he called out, his voice hoarse. "The Tarkalian fleet it's dead in space, sir," Lieutenant Chen replied, her voice filled with awe. "Hundreds of ships just drifting." A cheer went up from the command staff, but Hawk raised a hand for silence. And our systems? Chen's expression sobered. We've lost most of our orbital defenses. Power outages reported worldwide. The planetary shield it's unstable, sir. Partially collapsed in several areas. Hawk nodded grimly. They had won a major victory, but at a terrible cost. Earth was now more vulnerable than ever. Before he could issue new orders, a priority alert flashed on the main screen. A small group of Tarkalian ships, somehow shielded from the worst effects of the pulse, had broken through the deteriorating planetary shield. They were on a direct course for the core weapon facility. They're going after our ace in the hole, Hawk murmured, his mind racing. If the Tarkalians seized control of the core weapon, or even managed to destroy it, Earth's last line of defense would be gone. He turned to his staff, his voice ringing with authority. I need our best on this. Scramble all available forces to the core weapon facility. We hold that position at all costs. As the orders went out, Hawk's gaze fell on the personnel file of Major Sarah Connor, a decorated Special Forces operative with a reputation for pulling off the impossible. He opened a secure channel. Major Connor, this is General Hawk. I have a mission for you. You. Hawk's voice crackled through the comm, his tone grave. The core weapon facility is under imminent threat. I need you and your team to fortify and defend it at all costs. This is our last line of defense against the Tarkalians. Major Sarah Connor's pulse quickened as she processed the general's words. Understood, sir. We're on our way. Connor sprinted through the corridors of the underground base, barking orders into her comm unit. Her team, a group of battle-hardened Special Forces operatives, converged on her position with practiced efficiency. Listen up, she said as they gathered around her. The Tarkalians are making a push for the core weapon. If they get their hands on it, it's game over. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen. The team moved out, their boots echoing on the metal floors as they made their way to the facility's entrance. Connor's mind raced, formulating strategies and contingencies. As they approached the massive blast doors, she turned to her second-in-command, Lieutenant Ramirez. Get those automated defenses online. I want energy shields at maximum power, and every weapon emplacement manned and ready. Ramirez nodded, his fingers flying over a nearby control panel. The facility hummed to life, energy shields shimmering into existence as turrets and missile launchers emerged from hidden compartments. Connor positioned her soldiers at key choke points, utilizing their knowledge of the facility's layout to create an intricate defensive web. She tapped her comm unit, opening a channel to the entire team. Remember your training. Use the terrain to your advantage. The Tarkalians may have advanced tech, but they're not used to Earth's gravity. Use that against them. No sooner had she finished speaking than the first alarms blared. The Tarkalian assault had begun. Through the facility's external cameras, Connor watched as Tarkalian ships descended from the sky, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly sheen. A particularly large vessel touched down, and from it emerged a towering figure clad in ornate battle armor. That must be their commander, Connor muttered, zooming in on the alien's features. Its face was a mass of tentacles and sharp angles, eyes glowing with an unnatural intelligence. The Tarkalian forces wasted no time in deploying their siege weapons. Gravity disruptors warped the space around the facility's outer defenses, while plasma cannons unleashed searing bolts of energy that splashed against the energy shields. Hold the line, Connor shouted as the first wave of Tarkalian infantry charged forward. Her soldiers responded with a hail of gunfire and energy blasts, cutting down the alien attackers. But the Tarkalians pressed on, their numbers seemingly endless. Connor watched as they adapted their tactics, using personal force fields to deflect Earth weapons and deploying swarms of small, insect-like drones to probe for weaknesses in the defenses. As the battle raged, Connor's comm crackled to life. It was Dr. Miller on Mars. Major Connor, his voice came through, strained but excited. We've made a breakthrough with the planetary shield. If we can integrate the quantum properties of Earth's core with the Starbridge technology, we might be able to create a self-sustaining energy field, but it's going to require precise calibration of both the core weapon and the shield generators. Connor ducked as a plasma bolt sizzled overhead. That's great, Doc, but we're a little busy here. Can you coordinate with Dr. Rodriguez? She should be in the main control room. Already on it, Miller replied. But you need to buy us time. If the Tarkalians disrupt this process, we lose our best shot at turning the tide. Understood, Connor said, gritting her teeth. She switched channels, connecting to Dr. Rodriguez. Doctor, I hope you're ready for some multitasking. We need that core weapon recalibrated ASAP. Rodriguez's voice came back, tense but determined. My team's already working on it, Major, but this is delicate work. One mistake could lead to catastrophic failure. As if to underscore the doctor's words, a massive explosion rocked the facility. Connor stumbled, catching herself against a wall. She looked up to see a section of the outer defenses had been breached. Ramirez, she shouted, get a team to Sector 7, seal that breach. Her second-in-command nodded, gesturing to a group of soldiers who sprinted towards the compromised area. Connor turned her attention back to the main assault, where the Tarkalian commander was leading a concentrated attack on the facility's main entrance. The aliens' tactics were impressive, Connor had to admit. It was using its gravity disruptors to create localized fields of increased gravity, pinning down Earth defenders while its troops advanced under the cover of energy shields. Connor's mind raced, searching for a counter-strategy. Her eyes fell on a nearby console displaying the facility's power distribution. An idea formed. Dr. Rodriguez, she called over the comm, can you reroute power from the non-essential systems to the gravity compensators in the floor plating? There was a moment of silence, then Rodriguez's voice came back. Yes, but why would we... Oh, I see. Clever, Major. Give me a moment. Connor watched the power levels shift on the display. All units, she broadcast to her team. Prepare for a gravity shift. On my mark, maglock your boots. She waited until she saw the Tarkalian forces reach the midpoint of their advance. Now. The facility's floor plates hummed as they generated a powerful gravitational field. The Earth soldiers, prepared for the change, remained steady. The Tarkalians, however, were caught off guard. Their carefully coordinated advance dissolved into chaos as soldiers stumbled and fell, their movements become slow and labored in the increased gravity. Connor didn't waste the opportunity. All units, open fire! A barrage of energy weapons and projectiles tore into the disoriented Tarkalian ranks. The alien commander roared in fury, its tentacles writhing as it bellowed orders to its troops. But before the Tarkalians could regroup, a new threat emerged. Connor's tactical display lit up with warnings as swarms of nanobots began to infiltrate the facility's systems. Major! Lieutenant Harper's voice cut through the chaos. We've got a cyber intrusion. These nanobots are trying to take control of our systems. Connor's blood ran cold. If the Tarkalians gained control of the core weapon, all would be lost. Harper, get to the main computer core. Stop those nanobots at all costs. As Harper and his team raced to confront the digital threat, Connor turned her attention back to the physical battle. The Tarkalians had adapted to the increased gravity and were once again pressing their attack. Suddenly, a group of Tarkalian soldiers near the rear of their formation turned their weapons on their own comrades. Connor blinked in surprise, then remembered Captain Krell's resistance movement. These must be some of his agents, finally revealing themselves. The unexpected betrayal threw the Tarkalian assault into disarray. Connor seized the moment, ordering her forces to push back against the invaders. The corridors of the facility became a chaotic battlefield, filled with the sounds of energy weapons and the acrid smell of ozone. In the midst of the fighting, Connor's comm crackled once more. It was Dr. Miller. Major, we've done it. The planetary shield is stable. You should be seeing the effects now. As if on cue, the incoming fire from the Tarkalian ships in orbit suddenly lessened. Connor glanced at a nearby monitor showing an orbital view of Earth. A shimmering, iridescent field now enveloped the planet, deflecting the majority of the alien energy weapons. Before she could fully process this new development, Dr. Rodriguez's voice came through. Core weapon recalibration complete, Major. We're synced with the planetary shield. General Hawk is giving the order to fire. Connor braced herself as the facility hummed with power. The core weapon discharged, its energy amplified and refracted by the planetary shield. The results were immediately apparent. Tarkalian ships in orbit began to explode or drift powerlessly, overwhelmed by the supercharged blast. But the battle wasn't over yet. As the Tarkalian fleet crumbled, their commander on the ground seemed to make a decision. With a roar that seemed to shake the very walls, the alien led a final, desperate charge towards the heart of the facility. Connor found herself face-to-face with the Tarkalian leader as it burst through the last line of defense. The alien towered over her, its tentacles writhing with fury, eyes blazing with the light of imminent defeat and stubborn defiance. "You want this weapon so badly?" Connor growled, raising her energy rifle. "Come and get it." The Tarkalian commander lunged forward, and the final battle for the core weapon facility began. Connor barely had time to dodge as the alien's massive fist swung towards her head. She ducked and rolled, coming up behind a control console. "Harper!" she shouted into her comm. "I need those systems locked down now." "Working on it, Major." Harper's voice crackled back, strained with concentration. "These Tarkalian nanobots are persistent little buggers." Connor didn't have time to respond as Vex Thor lunged over the console, tentacles writhing. She brought up her rifle, but the alien knocked it aside with a sweep of its arm. The weapon clattered across the floor, sliding out of reach. Vex Thor's eyes blazed with fury as it towered over Connor. "Your resistance is futile, human," it gurgled in its alien tongue, the words translated by Connor's earpiece. "This world will be ours." Connor's response was a swift uppercut to what passed for the alien's chin. Her fist connected with a satisfying thud, and Vex Thor stumbled back, momentarily stunned. "Not on my watch," Connor growled, pressing her advantage. She launched into a flurry of strikes, her years of hand-to-hand combat training evident in every movement. Vex Thor, though caught off guard, quickly recovered. Its tentacles lashed out, grabbing Connor's arm mid-punch and flinging her across the room. Connor slammed into a bank of monitors, the impact knocking the wind out of her. She rolled to her feet, ignoring the pain in her ribs. Vex Thor was already charging towards her, its massive form eating up the distance between them. As they grappled, Connor could feel the alien's superior strength, but she had something Vex Thor didn't, a lifetime of training in Earth's gravity. She used Vex Thor's momentum against it, redirecting its charge into a control panel. Sparks flew as the alien's armored body crushed delicate electronics. "Harper, status!" Connor barked into her comm as she danced away from Vex Thor's grasp. "Almost there, Major," Harper replied. "Just a few more, got it. Primary systems are secure. No way the Tarkalians are getting in now." Connor allowed herself a small smile of satisfaction, but it was short-lived. Vex Thor had recovered and was advancing again, its eyes now fixed on the core weapon controls. "Oh, no, you don't," Connor muttered, launching herself at the alien. She managed to tackle Vex Thor just as it reached the console, but not before its tentacle brushed against a series of buttons. Alarms began to blare throughout the facility. "Warning, core weapon overload sequence initiated," an automated voice announced. "Facility-wide evacuation protocols engaged?" Connor's blood ran cold. She knew what an overload of the core weapon could mean. Not just the destruction of the facility, but potentially a catastrophic event that could render Earth uninhabitable. Vex Thor used her moment of distraction to throw her off. The alien commander straightened, a look of grim satisfaction on its face. "If we cannot have this world," it gurgled, "then no one shall." Connor scrambled to her feet, her mind racing. "Harper, we've got a bigger problem. Vex Thor's initiated an overload sequence." "I see it." Harper's voice came back, tight with tension. I'm trying to counteract it, but this isn't like anything I've dealt with before. I need time. Time is something we don't have, Connor replied, eyeing Vex Thor warily as the alien moved to block her access to the controls. Suddenly her comm crackled with a new voice. Major Connor, this is Dr. Miller on Mars. We're detecting fluctuations in the planetary shield. Is something happening with the core weapon? Connor ducked as Vex Thor swung at her again. You could say that, Doc. We've got an overload situation here. There was a moment of silence. Then Miller's voice returned, urgent. Listen carefully, Major. We might have a solution, but it's going to require precise coordination. As Miller outlined his plan, Connor found herself locked in a deadly dance with Vex Thor. The alien's tentacles lashed out, seeking to ensnare her, while she weaved and dodged, looking for an opening. Harper, Connor called out between breaths. Did you get all that? Affirmative, Harper replied. But Major, to implement Miller's solution, we need direct access to the core weapon controls. As long as Vex Thor is in the way... Leave that to me, Connor said grimly. She feinted left, then dove right, rolling past Vex Thor towards her discarded rifle. The alien, anticipating her move, activated a device on its armor. A high-pitched whine filled the air, and Connor felt her head swim. She stumbled, her reach for the rifle falling short. Vex Thor loomed over her, tentacles poised to strike. Your struggles end here, human, it gurgled. But Connor wasn't done yet. Fighting through the disorientation, she swept her leg out, catching Vex Thor off balance. As the alien stumbled, she pushed herself up and lunged for the rifle. Her fingers closed around the familiar grip just as Vex Thor recovered. The alien roared in fury and charged. Connor rolled onto her back, bringing the rifle up in one smooth motion. She fired. The energy blast caught Vex Thor squarely in the chest, sending the alien commander flying backwards. It crashed into the core weapon controls, its armor sparking and smoking. Connor was on her feet in an instant, racing to the console. Harper, now! Her fingers flew over the controls, following Harper's rapid-fire instructions. On the main screen, she could see the overload sequence's countdown, the numbers ticking down with terrifying speed. Major, Miller's voice came through. We're ready on our end, initiating shield stabilization, now. Connor held her breath as she input the final command. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, the alarms began to quiet. The countdown on the screen froze, then began to reverse. It's working. Harper's voice came through, relief evident. The overload's been stopped. We're achieving harmonic balance between the shield and the core weapon. Connor allowed herself a moment to breathe, then turned her attention back to Vex Thor. The alien commander was stirring, its armor sparking but still functional. This isn't over, Connor said, raising her rifle. Harper, what's the situation outside? As Harper began to report on the Tarkalian retreat and Earth's countermeasures, Connor kept her eyes fixed on Vex Thor. The alien slowly pushed itself up, its eyes meeting Connor's with a mixture of hatred and something else. Respect, perhaps? The battle for Earth's core weapon facility had been won, but Connor knew the war was not nearly finished. As she listened to reports of Tarkalian ships fleeing the solar system and the strange terraforming devices malfunctioning across the globe, she realized that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in Earth's history. With Vex Thor contained and the immediate threat neutralized, Connor opened a channel to General Hawk. Sir, the core weapon facility is secure, awaiting further orders. As she waited for a response, Connor couldn't help but wonder what new challenges this hard-won victory would bring. The Tarkalians had been pushed back, but for how long? And what other threats might be lurking in the vast expanse of space, waiting for their chance to strike at Earth? Whatever came next, Connor knew one thing for certain. Humanity would face it head-on, just as they had done today. With newfound allies, advanced technology, and the spirit that had carried them through this invasion, they were ready for whatever the universe might throw at them next. Connor's eyes locked with General Hawk's on the comm screen. Understood, sir. We'll hold the line here. As the connection cut out, Connor turned to survey the chaos around her. The core weapon facility's alarm still blared, their urgent wails a constant reminder of the precarious situation. She could feel the vibrations through the floor, the entire structure groaning under the strain of contained energy. "Harper, status report," she barked into her comm, her gaze never leaving the prone form of Vex Thor. "Not good, Major." Harper's voice crackled back, tension evident in every syllable. "The overload sequence is accelerating. We've got minutes, maybe less, before this whole place goes critical." Connor's mind raced, weighing options that all seemed equally disastrous. Then, as if in answer to her unspoken prayers, Dr. Miller's voice cut through the din. "Major Connor, this is Miller on Mars. We've got a plan, but it's going to take everything we've got." As Miller outlined his strategy, Connor felt a surge of hope. It was risky, borderline insane, but it was their only shot. "Copy that, Doctor," she replied, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "We're on it." She turned to see Vex Thor stirring, the alien commander's eyes flickering with renewed hatred. There was no time to waste. Connor launched herself at Vex Thor, her body moving on pure instinct. Years of combat training took over as she unleashed a flurry of strikes, each one precisely targeted at weak points in the alien's physiology. Vex Thor, caught off guard by the sudden onslaught, stumbled backward. The Tarkalian's tentacles lashed out, seeking purchase, but Connor was too quick. She ducked and weaved, her movements a blur of controlled aggression. With a final, powerful kick, she sent Vex Thor careening into a control panel. Sparks erupted as the alien's armored form crushed delicate circuitry. "Harper, now!" Connor shouted, seizing the moment of advantage. A series of high-pitched whines filled the air as energy barriers sprang to life, cutting off Vex Thor's access to the core weapon controls. The alien commander roared in fury, tentacles slamming against the shimmering force fields. "Barriers are holding, Major," Harper reported, his voice tight with concentration. "I've got him contained, but I don't know for how long." Connor didn't waste a second. She raced to the main control interface, her fingers flying across the holographic displays. Data streams and warning messages flooded her vision, a dizzying array of information that would have overwhelmed a lesser soldier. "Harper, I need you on this," she called out, her eyes never leaving the screens. "We've got to stabilize the core weapon's energy output." Together, they worked in perfect synchronization, their actions a testament to countless hours of training and shared combat experience. Connor rerouted power conduits, while Harper executed complex algorithms, both of them pushing the facility's systems to their absolute limits. The entire structure shuddered, steel and concrete groaning under the strain of the contained energy. Warning klaxons reached a fever pitch, their urgent cries seeming to reverberate through Connor's very bones. "Major," Dr. Miller's voice cut in, "we're initiating the feedback loop between the planetary shield and the core weapon. Stand by for transmitting quantum resonance frequencies." Connor's hands danced across the controls, inputting the stream of data as fast as Miller could relay it. Sweat beaded on her forehead, her muscles tense with the effort of maintaining absolute precision. Suddenly, a realization hit her like a physical blow. The final stabilization would require manual adjustments to the main emitter array, a task that would expose the operator to potentially lethal levels of energy. Without hesitation, Connor made her decision. "Harper, I'm sealing you in the control room. Continue monitoring the systems from there." "Major, what are you—" Harper's protest was cut short as Connor activated the room's blast doors. "Someone's got to do this," she said grimly, already moving towards the heart of the facility. The corridors leading to the main emitter array were a gauntlet of dangers. Arcs of uncontrolled energy lashed out from ruptured conduits, forcing Connor to duck and weave as she ran. The air itself seemed to crackle with power, raising the hair on her arms and sending shivers down her spine. She burst into the emitter chamber, momentarily overwhelmed by the sight before her. The massive array dominated the room, its crystalline structures pulsing with terrifying energy. The air shimmered with heat, making it difficult to breathe. I'm at the array, Connor reported, her voice hoarse. Talk me through this, Doc. As Miller's instructions flowed through her earpiece, Connor began the painstaking process of realigning the emitter crystals. Each adjustment sent shocks through her body, the energy field around the array intensifying with every passing second. In orbit, Captain Krell observed a series of energy fluctuations emanating from Earth. Recognition dawned on his alien features as he interpreted the patterns. All ships form a defensive perimeter around the planet, he ordered, his translator conveying the urgency in his clicks and whistles. Protect Earth at all costs. Back in the facility, Vexthor had managed to break free from his electronic cage. The alien commander charged towards the emitter chamber, his path marked by destruction. Major, Vexthor's loose. Harper's warning came just as Connor was making the final adjustments. She gritted her teeth, forcing herself to focus on the task at hand. Keep him busy, Lieutenant. I'm almost there. Harper's fingers flew across his console, activating every obstacle and trap he could muster. Blast doors slammed shut in Vexthor's path, forcing the alien to smash through them. Defensive turrets sprang to life, peppering the corridor with energy blasts. Connor aligned the last crystal, her muscles screaming in protest as she fought against the increasing energy field. It's done, she shouted, just as Vexthor burst into the chamber. A blinding surge of energy erupted from the emitter array, engulfing the entire room. Connor was thrown back, her world consumed by searing white light and deafening noise. The energy wave rippled outward, sweeping across the globe in a matter of seconds. Tarkalian terraforming devices sputtered and died, their alien technology no match for Earth's unleashed power. The atmosphere itself seemed to shimmer, alien contaminants disintegrating in the wave's wake. Vexthor, caught in the heart of the energy surge, let out an agonized cry. His form began to waver, the very atoms of his being struggling to maintain cohesion. With a final desperate lunge towards Connor, the Tarkalian commander disintegrated, his remains scattered into harmless particles. As the energy wave expanded beyond Earth's atmosphere, it coalesced into a vast, shimmering barrier encompassing the entire solar system. The Tarkalian fleet, caught in its path, found their ships suddenly powerless. Those that could still maneuver turned tail and fled. Their invasion ended in a single stunning moment. In the emitter chamber, Connor slowly pushed herself to her feet, her entire body aching from the ordeal. She stumbled back to the control room where Harper was waiting, his face a mix of awe and concern. Major, he said, his voice filled with disbelief. You did it. The core weapon is stable and well, you should see this. He brought up a holographic display of the solar system. Connor's eyes widened as she took in the sight of the shimmering barrier now surrounding Earth and its neighboring planets. Dr. Miller, Connor called out, her voice rough. Are you seeing this? Affirmative, Major. Miller's excited voice came through. The planetary shield is not only stable, it's expanded to cover the entire system. It's beyond anything we could have imagined. As the reality of their victory began to sink in, Connor allowed herself a small smile. They had done it. Earth was safe for now at least. But as she looked at the holographic display, watching the few remaining Tarkalian ships fleeing into deep space, she couldn't help but wonder what new challenges this triumph would bring. The galaxy had just witnessed the power of a planet that could weaponize its very core. Humanity's status in the cosmic order had changed forever. As Connor began to coordinate with Captain Krell and the Allied fleet, she knew that this was only the beginning of a new chapter in Earth's history.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.